Hi everyone, good morning. I'm Sarah with Fisher Price Ranch, and this is Thor, our Karakachin puppy from last year that we purchased. Anyway, so first off, hit that subscription button down below and notification bell for updates on our next videos. I wanted to do a quick reminder, if you guys haven't seen my video, we are doing a contest. We're doing a giveaway, so if you haven't seen that, I'll post the link in the description box down below. It's for the full month of April, and we're already almost halfway through the month, and I've only had 6 people enter the contest, so not very many, so I'm assuming a lot of people haven't seen it, so definitely check that out if you're interested. So this morning, I wanted to go real quick and check underneath our hen. Now, she is laying on 9 eggs, and they were due to hatch last night, and I haven't been out yet to see, so we're going to see what's going on. So I have to fight my way through my friendly boys here. Hi, guys. No, you stay out, Thor. So Thor was not able to stay with the chickens. He did want to play with them. He's not quite mature enough, and I was not smart, and I didn't raise him with the chickens when he was a puppy when we got him. So he has to wait a bit. And so if you guys saw my video of when we finished this place, this chicken pen, the bucks have been moved, so we're remodeling the buck pen. And they're making a big mess of everything, but that's typical for boys. They always make a mess, but it's easily raked. Hi, Freya. Good morning. So Freya has found her new home. She's been nervous with the boys. Hi. Hi. And, but she's going to her new home next week. She's going to start guarding some new chickens, so that'll be good for her. But here is our girl, and I'm very curious if we have any chicks. Gotta squeeze in here real quick. All right. Can I see underneath you? Huh? I'm not seeing anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's see. I'll just move her out of the way. No chicks yet. Hey, I was still looking at those. Well, at least she's being good about it. She's definitely tending to them very well. She's our white cochin. So maybe later today. I didn't see any pips, but I ain't gonna mess with them too much. Alright, well, no chicks just yet, but I will definitely video when I check again, and hopefully we'll catch some on the camera for you guys. So I've had a lot of people ask me, sorry, I'm tying the fence, what it's like to be a goat farmer, the good and bad of it. So I thought today I would talk to you guys about that. So I've been in goat farming for about 4 years now, and I started really small. I didn't get very big with my goats until about 2 years ago. Then we got really big for our small property, and now we're cutting back. The nice thing about doing that, though, is I started with, I wanted to just get dairy breed, and so we started with La Manchas. We got some babies, and before they were even old enough to breed, I sold them. I just didn't really care for them. That's my personal opinion. And so then we decided to get Nubians. So I got a couple of cheapies, learned my lesson there. So, and then we've kind of been through quite a few different breeds of goats, and we finally come pretty much to the conclusion on what's best for us. And so let me find a good spot to sit down, and I'll kind of talk to you about what I've done. All right, so pretty much before you purchase any goats, you need to decide what you want them for. Originally, we decided, not to get goats that bite. No, I'm just kidding. I love this girl. But we originally decided that we were going to get goats for just milking. And after we got those, we didn't really care for that breed, which were the La Manchas. And then we decided, being a farmer, you have to take the good with the bad. And unfortunately, things will happen where you will lose your favorite goat. It's always your favorite, or the one that you spent the most money on. And a lot of the ways that we have lost goats in the past, the meat is still good. And so we decided that if we were going to have goats and become a goat farmer, that we needed to be able to eat the meat no matter what, because we don't like to waste anything. We use everything that we possibly can, and we don't want anything to go to waste no matter what. So we got some nice Nubian goats. They were pretty good size. They're real meaty. And so that's kind of how we got started. And so we bought a mother-daughter, and they were both older. They had already all had kids. And so then we had bred them, and one of the does, the mother, she went into labor while I was at work. Now, the job that I had, don't chew on that, I was a caregiver for the elderly, and I worked 12-hour shifts. So, of course, I'm headed to work and she starts labor. So I just, she has to do it on her own. I'm not there to help her. And luckily I did, no, I didn't have cameras at the time. So I couldn't even keep an eye on her. And so anyway, after my 12-hour shift, I got home. She was still laboring. The baby had died. It was stuck inside of her, and so I was up. I did graveyard shifts, so no matter what, I had to help this goat and try and save the mother. So I'm trying to get inside. Her birth canal had already closed back up, so I couldn't even get my hand in there. And I have good-sized hands, but I don't have huge hands. And I've been able to get inside of a Nigerian dwarf doe. So, I mean, these standard-sized goats aren't too hard to get into. It just takes a little work to get in there. So anyway, I could not get in no matter what I did. So I had to call my neighbor, and because she has a lot smaller hands than I do, she was able to get inside, and she's trying to maneuver this kid to get it out. And we worked on her, I'm going to say till like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I got off work at 6 a.m. and we worked on her for about 6 to 7 hours. Hey. And no matter what we did, we just couldn't get this baby out. It was just stuck in there. It was mangled up in there. And no matter what we tried, it wasn't coming out. Well, then all of a sudden, ow, my hair got pulled. Excuse me, ma'am. This is Tipsy. She's our new girl, and she craves attention. But not like that. I don't like that. Ugh, goodness. Anyway, so we went in, or my neighbor went in, we tried again, and when she pulled her hand out, a bunch of blood came out. And we knew the uterus was torn, and she wasn't going to make it. So, will you stop it? Go away. So we knew that we had to put her down, and this was my very first goat that I've ever had to put down. I've heard all these stories about how you shoot them. We had pigs and stuff, so we would just shoot them, and they dropped dead pretty quick, so they wouldn't suffer. But I was told because of the goats, headbutt, that their skull is way too thick, and you can't shoot them in the head. My neighbors had a goat, I guess they had bad incident with that, where they had to shoot it like 5 times, still wouldn't go down, it's running around the yard. So me hearing all these horror stories, I'm like, nope, I can't do that. And so we're gonna just let her bleed out and just slice her throat. Because it was my first goat to put down, I wasn't prepared mentally to do that. So luckily my neighbor did it for me, and she was so exhausted she just laid there until she died. But it was just sad to see her have to suffer. So anyway, me being the curious one, I opened her up. I wanted to see, open the uterus and see how the baby was positioned and figure out what the heck, why couldn't we get it out, how many kids were in there. She only had a single. It wasn't very big. I didn't weigh it, but I would say it was maybe 6-7 pounds. So it wasn't a huge baby. But the head was completely twisted all the way around a full turn, so it probably suffocated to death. That's probably why it died so quickly. And then the legs were mangled and twisted up and like holding it in position, and we couldn't get it out. So even though she'd been an experienced 5-year-old doe that's had many, many litters without assistance, it can happen to anybody. Any goat can have an issue, a freak accident, whatever. So because everything was encased in the uterus, I knew that the meat was still good, and we did process her and ate her, and she was delicious. So the first way we did have goat meat was we made burgers, because you don't season those that much, and we really wanted to taste the meat to ensure that we really wanted to continue on raising goats. Best burger I've ever had, hands down. So anyway, that's kind of what got us started. So then I went back to this breeder that I got these goats from, and she had a couple more for sale. They were already bred by a Kiko. So I was like, okay, I'll take those. So I bought a couple from her. They kidded, no problem. Everything was great. But I had never heard of the Kiko breed before. And so that's kind of what got me researching it, trying to figure out, about this breed. And I got really intrigued by the idea of these super easy goats with the dairy breeds and the show goats. They've just, in my opinion, they've been babied too much. They're trimming the feet every month. They deworm them on a schedule, even if they don't need it. They're giving them all this grain and all this high protein food and supplements and all this stuff. And like, I would go and buy I wanted a good quality goat. So I went and got into Boers, and they're like, I brought them on my property, and I don't like to do as much as a lot of other people do. I want to keep it very simple. And I know they're not a wild goat, but I like to raise my animals as close to natural as possible, like they would do in the wild. So having these Boer goats, they're just losing weight. Their feet are horrible. All the stuff going wrong with them. They're getting worms and all this stuff. And, ow! Excuse me, ma'am. Give me my hair back. How would you like it if I pulled your hair? I didn't think she would like that. So anyway, it didn't make sense. I was like, I hate these dang goats. So I sold them off. I got rid of them. And then we got into a couple of Kikos, just commercial, just to kind of get us started in the breed. And then we bought a couple of we got registered quality Nubians. I traded some pigs for them. They were $500 goats. And, they had great babies. They started milking. I was getting about a gallon a day. I was like, oh, this is really good. And, but they take forever to grow. They do. They look like they're babies until they're almost 2 years old. And then finally they'll shoot way up. But it just takes forever because, all right, guys, come on. It takes forever because I don't give them all that grain and stuff to help them grow really fast, quickly. So, I just didn't like that they were taking forever to grow. And then we got a couple more Kikos from a good friend of mine in New Mexico, Kyla. And I got some from her that were in milk. They had just weaned their babies, and I was milking them, and they were giving me a gallon a day. So I'm like, well, then why the heck do I need these Nubians if my Kikos are giving me the same amount of milk? It tastes so much better, has twice as much butter fat, and I get the faster growing goat and the meat. So it just made more sense to go straight Kiko. So that's kind of what got me into just going with one breed, and I haven't looked back since. Let's see, about just over a year after I had met Kyla, she got me really addicted to the Kikos. We were talking every day. She'd buy new goats, I'd buy new goats. We're like, oh, we got to do some bartering, keep new bloodlines, and we're how all these plans. And then one day, she didn't message back. And a couple days went by, never heard from her. I knew something was wrong. She passed away. That's been about a year and a half ago now. So anyway, I took a lot of her goats, all of her goats, because her husband said it was her thing. He didn't really know what they were worth and what to do. And so I told him, I'll take them all. I'll pay you for them, what they're worth. And I did. And I told him I can't keep every single one, but I will definitely keep her favorites and her best ones. And Buddy, our big white buck, that was hers. And Joe, our pat goat, that was hers. A lot of our girls that we still have are from her. So anyway, so that's how I ended up getting a lot of Kikos, because I had my herd and then I had to take in her herd. And so anyway, it escalated pretty quickly on all my goats. So another bad thing that have happened with goats is watch your trees. I know that sounds weird, but we had a tree, actually this big one right behind me. We had to cut a whole tree limb off of that. The way that it grew, we had the main trunk of the tree, and then it split in a V, but it split and it stayed together really close for about 2 feet, and then it branched out. And one of the goats stood up to graze on the leaves, and when she came down, her foot went right between that Y on the tree, and she snapped her leg in half. I was at work when it happened, and she kept fighting. She was out there hours. Nobody was here. Come home, and the bones are all snapped in half. She kept fighting so much that all the muscles were torn off. It was literally held on by a piece of skin. And the way the bone broke, it was broken at an angle. And I don't go to vets out here if I don't have to. They're about almost an hour drive from me. And to me, I know it's livestock, and I absolutely love my livestock up until a point if they die of old age or we process them. But I give them the best life that I can, and we butchered her. It was just, the break was too bad. She was in shock. She actually, once I got her out, she was walking on her bone, and oh, that was a horrible sight. And so that was a bad incident. And I've lost, all of my goats have been accidents. I've only lost one to illness, and that was, I had a video on him. I was trying to save him for quite a few days. That was Bear Claw, and he died of pneumonia. But so this is one thing that I always do, is morning and night I do a head count. Because I have so many goats, I do a head count, make sure everybody's accounted for. With Bear, I had injured my shoulder and my neck, and for about 3 days I just stayed in the house. I came out and just made sure they had food, water. Yep, looks good. Went right back in, and I didn't do my head counts. And trying not to blame myself. I know he got pneumonia. It's not like, I caused that. But I always wonder, if I had done my head count and I saw that he didn't look right, I could have saved him, But I didn't do my head count, and he had been down laying in the house for more than a day, and I didn't know it. So do your head counts. That's one way to try and prevent losing a goat if it's an accident. So those are some of my bad stories. One of my great stories, I came home from work, and neighbors are out, the dogs are going crazy. But anyway, I came home from work, and my Nubian that I had, she had triplets right in the snow in February, and she just left them. She had them in the snow, and then she walked away. And that's one thing I hated. That's what I love about the Kikos, is they do not leave their kids. They have great motherly instincts, and they will do anything to save their kids. And so this one goat, she was laying there lifeless. She was dead. I picked her up, and she just flopped over. I mean, there was nothing there. And I just cut my hand around her chest, and I could feel just the faintest heartbeat. It was barely there. It was like, with animals, their heartbeats, boom, 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 pretty quickly. And I would feel a heartbeat like every 5-7 seconds. So she was a goner. So I had taken her in the house very quickly. I put her in a trash bag, just up to her neck. Hey, don't do that near me. Just up to her neck so she wouldn't suffocate. And I dunked her in my kitchen sink of hot water, and I just slowly bring her temperature back up. And It took all day long. I think it was 5 hours. Finally she started moving around, and eventually she started trying to stand up. She started trying to suck on my arm. So I ran out, I milked Mom, get that colostrum, and she was able to, I had to syringe it down her. She wasn't quite ready to nurse yet, but you got to make sure they have to be at least 101.5 pounds, 101.5 degrees before you can give them any food, or it can cause problems. So just keep that in mind. But finally she got to where she could suckle really well, so I put it in a baby bottle. She sucked it down, and she's still living today. She's a year old. My friend purchased her that lives down the road here, and she's an amazing goat. She looks beautiful, and so that's one of my great stories. I have a lot of great stories, but I just wanted to tell people that when you're farming, you have to take the good with the bad. And sometimes it seems like no matter what you do, it's just bad, negative, 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 and you get really down on yourself. But you have to remember that that's not going to last forever. If it seems to go on and on and on, look at how you're taking care of your animals. I mean, it may be that it has nothing to do with how you're taking care of them. You could be doing it perfectly. But it could be just the one minor thing that you didn't even see. I've done that. I had a goat that she got pregnant, and then she miscarried. And I was like, I've never seen that before. And so I posted pictures. I had a good mentor that's been doing goats for 30 plus years, and I just sent her a picture of the goat, and before I could even tell her what was going on, she's like, oh my gosh, she really needs copper. And I'm like, what do you mean? How can you tell just by a picture? And it's because of the way the hair looks, and she had fishtail, and I didn't know. I had loose minerals out. There was copper in it, but I didn't realize that Arizona is so copper deficient that you have to give them that copper bolus pill. And we give it to ours every 6 months now. And that was the first year I did goats. And I've been in it 4 years now. And I've only had one other miscarriage. And I'm not sure why that happened with her. But I've been doing a lot of research. This is our first year that we had two goats that wouldn't breed no matter what we did. They would breed, but they wouldn't take. And one finally did take after we treated her for ovarian cysts. I do have a video on that. But the other one, she never rebred. So we gave her a big break. We're gonna try her again this July and see what happens. With shipping, I spent about $1,000 on this goat. Haven't gotten a single kid out of her. So it's kind of her last straw. If she doesn't give us kids this year, then I guess we'll have to eat her. I mean, it sucks. Sometimes you spend all that money on a great quality goat, but, stuff happens. She is one of our goats that she was shipped with a bad shipper, and she was on the trailer way too long. And then she was attacked by my dog, my old dog I used to have, and I had to sew her up. She was pretty bad shape, almost died, and then she had the miscarriage. So I don't know if all that put together has anything to do with it, because her brother I purchased as well, and he's given me 11 kids. He's been doing great. So we're just keeping our fingers crossed. Hopefully she'll do well for us this year. So anyway, I hope this gives you guys some insight on how farming can be hard. It really is. And to give you an idea, I pay because I don't have a lot of land, I don't have pasture yet. We're working on that, but I don't have enough land to pasture raise completely. So no matter what, I still have to buy hay year round and feed my goats till I get more land. But we spend oh goodness, how many adults have we had? I'm gonna say like 30 adult goats, and then a bunch of babies. I don't count the babies as eating hay because they don't really eat the hay until they're a few weeks old. But we go through about $500 a month to feed these goats. And it's expensive. And a lot of people don't realize that when you buy like a baby goat, it's going to take you, if you buy a female, it's going to take you about 2 years before you see your first kids. If you have a milking goat, it's going to be 3 years before you have a good milker, because their first year they don't produce that much milk. A lot of people don't realize how long it takes to see a return on your goats, if ever. I definitely recommend, if you're going to buy goats, buy from farms that disease test. Also, buy from farms that are doing something similar to what you want to do. That way the goats that you're buying are used to the setup and the idea of what you plan to do. I've had goats that I've brought in that were on pasture, and I'm putting them here on hay, and they're kind of like, you know, what's going on? Where is the food? So, I mean, they'll go to the hay, but, you know, they're looking around. They'd rather forage. So that's why I'm hoping my pastures come in later this year. I could start putting them out there just for like an hour a day. But we're working on 3 pastures. So hopefully we'll have enough where we could graze them every day, and just rotate the pastures out. And because we're cutting way back on our goats, going down to 15 breeders total, we'll be able to let them graze a little bit more than we could 30 goats. So anyway, yeah, I guess that's about all I've got to say today. If anybody's interested in other videos and stuff you want me to talk about, whatever, let me know in the comments. I did this video because somebody commented a couple days ago that they would like to hear the good and bad about farming and what it takes to kind of get into it. And definitely though, if you're going to purchase a goat, don't look for the cheapest. That's not always a bad thing. I have gotten really beautiful, amazing goats that I paid less to, you know, almost nothing for. But I would definitely recommend, if you want good quality, healthy goats, you gotta spend the money on them. It's just worth it. Real quick, one other instance, I rescued a goat. I got her for kind of a rescue. I got her for $50, and I got her home. She was real thin, skin and bone, and a month later, she delivered triplets. You couldn't even tell she was pregnant. She was that small. And right before she delivered, I had her disease tested, and she was CAE positive. And that's transferred through the milk. And so when the babies came out, I didn't even let her touch them. I took the babies and took them right away from her, cleaned them up, bottle fed them, found good pet homes for them, and then we put her down. Anything that has disease, they don't live to see another day, unfortunately. I don't mess around with it. And so, you know, it was just kind of a waste. I worked so hard to feed this goat, take care of her. I spent the money on disease testing and the money to actually purchase her, and then having a bottle feed. It was so much work, and I got nothing out of it. So, you know, it just wasn't worth it to me. I'd rather go and spend $300, $500, $1,000 on an amazing, healthy, disease-free goat that's going to live to see 5, 10, 15 years of healthy life and give me lots of babies. I mean, if you look at it this way, let's say I buy a $500 goat, and she's good quality, registered, purebred, whatever, and I breed that with a same, you know, purebred registered buck. I get twins out of her, and let's say, for instance, I have one that gave me 2 girls. The girls are really beautiful, and they can be registered as purebred, so they're like, as long as they're good quality and they grow up real nice, they're $500 goats. So I've made my money back, and I have another goat to sell or keep, and I haven't lost anything, and now I've got a milk goat. And, you know, it makes sense to just do it right the first time. So, you know, I learned, unfortunately, the hard way on a lot. But I definitely want to help people to do it right the first time rather than waste their time and money and do it wrong. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. And thank you guys for watching. Make sure, please hit that subscription button. And definitely comment if you want to see any other videos. And we'll see you guys next time.